So she overcame that boundary, and now she went and approached her lawyer from the university to go for her EB1B, and the lawyer straight up said no, because her ranking did not match up to all the other Yale professors. So she was not extraordinary enough in that regard. So she was straight up rejected. At least my lawyer gave me a chance. So she was open to that conversation, but she threw the same crap every we hear anywhere that, oh, Dr. Paul, you do not have 300 citations. And that's, now I realize why that is such a deal breaker, and why that assessment is flawed. And I'm not villainizing lawyers, but this is the problem that I am solving for, that your lawyer or the USCIS officer is not the subject matter expert. You are the subject matter expert. So if the lawyer or the USCIS officer does not have the bandwidth, neither the intention to want to look deeply into your profile, which honestly they don't have time, they don't have enough skin in the game, you now have to do the work to take them behind the scenes and say that, hey, I might not have these citations, but whatever I have, look at the true impact of that. So for example, when you're talking about software engineers have this tendency of saying, I developed, I designed, I coded. If you portray your work like that, then don't be surprised if the other person is very dismissive of your work. So you really have to tell the story behind how you developed, what you developed, why you developed, in what way you developed, what decisions did you take when you developed this, what impact did it have. Once you take the time to dig deep and do that open heart surgery on your work and excavate its true impact and tell that compelling of a story, then you have to listen to what the other person is saying. Then you get a fair assessment. But if you don't do that work and you just keep it superficial level, don't be surprised if the other person will also judge you superficially.
Yeah. That's so, I think I can totally resonate. And one thing I would say that it goes back to your conversation about some of the persuasion in a way that how exactly you have to make a compelling argument. And at the same time, I would also say that when I went through all this process of EB1A by myself, it changed me personally as well. Because before that, never ever in my life, and how many people sit down and think about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is your accomplishment? Because we've always been in a reactive mode. And that is also one of the things why I started podcasts, because we have to just slow down and think. And this is something which really changed, because then when I started working on it, I found that there are so many things to offer, but I never take a pause. I never look back. And as you mentioned that you always had the luxury of being seen in hindsight and join the dots. But if you don't take action, that's where the whole thing's pause. So now, in your perspective, what you said is about the whole processes of like looking into different categories. So is it I would say in summarized version, is it a good way to say that if you are not a manager, and if you do not have a professor or equivalent professional degree or whatever the case may be, EB1A would be the choice to look out. And even if you have EB1B, and if you see some challenges in your organization, which you rightly mentioned, because they want to de-risk themselves as well and have less and less rejection from that perspective, then you still can go to EB1A. That there's statement, or you want to add something here?
There's always so many caveats to add. Because I don't want to just broad brushstroke and say, oh, if you're not a manager, if you're not a researcher, then don't go. Because I have talked with people who do not fit those profiles and have been able to crack those things. So for example, I spoke with a senior software engineer in NVIDIA who was able to get his EB1B.